Hey, what's up, Triple P Nation? This week's episode is brought to you by Triple P Life Nutrition, helping you optimize your health and performance.
Welcome.
To the Age of Awakening.
Please identify yourself. Enter.
Hey, Triple P Nation, welcome back to the podcast, where this week, like every week, we're going to explore the tools, tactics, and strategies to help you achieve personal and business mastery. Oh boy, is it going to be business mastery this week, because it's all about entrepreneurship. I'll explain more in a minute. If you're new to the show, the mission of this podcast is to help entrepreneurs, as I just mentioned, and professionals learn and grow in the four key areas of life: mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. So that will help you start living what we call your Triple P life. I'm your host, Dr. Jay LaGuardia. Thank you for joining me. This is a real treat for me to be here behind this mic. It's something I'm really passionate about. And what I'm really passionate about is empowering your dreams, igniting your passion, and accelerating your prosperity. Now, before we get into our topic this week, of course, we've got to address this week's success snack. It's time for a little morsel of success snack. You know, almost every business owner, like myself and perhaps you, at some point deals with this analysis paralysis issue. You've got this big goal that you want to achieve. You want to scale and grow your business. You want to overcome some bottlenecks. You want to start mapping out a new vision for your business, hire new teammates, right? Expand your product line, whatever it might be. So what do? Well, like any resourceful person, you start researching. Go to YouTube, watch videos, listen to podcasts, reach out to people to talk with, whatever it might be. And after a while, you've got a ton of information. Now you think you're ready to take action, right? But wait a second, what happens? You feel overwhelmed because now you got a million different ideas rolling around in your head. You get paralyzed with options. So here's the good news. You don't need to know everything, at least not right now. All you need to know at this moment is what's next. The one thing you need to do today is just to get moving. That's why the title of this success snack is Focus on Your Next Step. What is the one thing you need to do today to get started, to get your butt moving? And then after that, you get to figure out what the next thing is after that. And you just keep working through the problem, progressing toward your goals. And this ultimately is what's going to help you lead to success. So just focus on the next thing, not everything at once, because it's overwhelming and no one can process all that information. And so you'll never get started if you feel overwhelmed. So today, find the next thing you need to do in your business to make it progress, and then go do it. Hope that helps. So this show was inspired by a close friend of mine. I was on vacation recently, and he's an absolute monster in business. He's an entrepreneurial rock star. Like, I want to be him someday. And I love hanging out with him because he inspires me and he challenges me. And fortunately, he says I do the same for him. So that makes me feel good. And when we get together, we have incredible conversations. I love spending time with him because it elevates my energy, my vibe, and my thoughts. And by the way, that's how you grow, surrounding yourself with people like that. And so one of the questions he had asked me was, how do you scale a particular business that we're both involved in? And like right away, we start this long, deep conversation that lasted quite some time. And so then I got thinking, I'm like, I was telling him, I'm about ready to open my 19th business. He's like, man, you like never give up, do you? It's like, no, I mean, I love this stuff. I mean, it just creates so much excitement and energy for me. I love creating something. Particularly, I like creating something out of nothing when it comes to a product, a service, and then watch it just, blow up and helps change so many people's lives. And so we, further along, we said, what do you think, asking this question back and forth, what do you think makes a great entrepreneur? And, I've thought about this, but not to the level and the extent in which I'm going to share with you today. So I started writing down things, and on the plane ride home, I had a long plane ride home, and I'm mapping this stuff out. I'm really digging deep. And for the first time, I start to understand what makes a good entrepreneur. What are some of the things that hold us back from being successful? What's the environment that's got to be? Why is there such growth in entrepreneurialism, particularly in the last 10 years? I got some incredible stats for you. And why is this the movement now in today's society, particularly with the young generation? So I want to first start sharing you a little bit about my entrepreneurial journey. But before I do, by the way, this is a 2-part episode. So of course, you're listening to part 1 here today. Next week, we'll release part 2 because there's just too much content, some really good content to put it in all one episode and get lost in the episode. So I broke it down into 2 parts. So part 1 here today, first is about my entrepreneurial journey. And then I'm going to share with you some stats I guarantee it's going to blow you away about entrepreneurship, stuff that you don't know. Because right now, entrepreneurship has increased radically over the last 10 years. It's not just a fad cool thing. It literally is a shift in trend in the workforce. And then I'm going to talk also about what are some of the reasons people are interested in becoming an entrepreneur. So that's some of the things we're going to cover here today on part 1. Part 2 next week, I'm going to talk about, do you have what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur? And then I'm going to lay it out what makes a good entrepreneur. And of course, we're going to talk about what are some of the qualities that hinder entrepreneurs from being successful. And then we're going to get into what affects the entrepreneurial journey. In other words, that causes us to fail. And there's quite a few reasons there. And then finally, I'm going to share with you my entrepreneurial journey, specifically some of my biggest wins and some of my biggest failures, because I've had both. And that's where I want to start. If you've been in this entrepreneurial game long enough, you're going to have wins and you're going to have losses. And I've been at this since 1994. So we're on, 30 years? I've had some not so good results and I've had some great results. And one of the characteristics of a really good entrepreneur is resiliency. Be able to deal with the failures and then come back, get your ass back up, dust yourself off and get moving again. There's no time as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, to feel sorry for yourself, because then you're done. You're absolutely toast. So my entrepreneurial story began in 1994. As I mentioned, we were recent graduates. We were in practice. We were practicing with my father-in-law, one of the largest practices in the country, well-known practice. People from all over the world would come in and get treatment. But it wasn't my practice, and it wasn't the vision of the practice that I wanted. And so I always wanted to go back to the East Coast. You guys know I'm in the Midwest now. So I didn't want to put my roots down here in the Midwest. I want to go back to the East Coast. So after about 2 years, we started practice in 1990. I went out east. I found a practice that we were going to buy, and I was going to move my family out there. And I knew that wasn't the direction my wife wanted to go, but she would have went anyway because, we were a family, and that was the vision that we had early on, or that I had, and then my vision was stronger than hers, and she was willing to adapt to my vision. Good, right, bad, wrong, whatever, I don't know, but she was willing to do that for me. So I came back and I sat my father-in-law down. I said to him, yeah, found a practice. I gave him an ample amount of time. We're going to leave in about 3 to 4 months, and we're going to move the family out east. And I know it devastated him because he loved being around his grandchildren. I know he really valued having us in the practice and the energy that we brought and the enthusiasm and the youth and so on and so forth. And so he didn't really respond. He just shook his head, and that was the end of the conversation. It took about 40 seconds. And then 2 days later, he pulled me aside and said, "Hey, would you be willing to sit down and have a conversation with me about this practice?" And out of respect for him, I said yes. Although in my mind, it's like there was nothing going to change my mind. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to put my roots here. And I was kind of stubborn in my youthfulness at that point. And so we sat down and we talked, and he laid out a vision for us in the practice. And even though it didn't align with my vision, I had to give it some serious consideration. I think I owed that to myself and to our family to do that. And after so many conversations with my wife, I knew she didn't want to go east, and she was doing it because of me. At that point, I had to make a decision that what was best for our family was to proceed with staying and purchasing the practice from them. There was quite a few conditions I laid out that if those conditions were met, I'd be willing to make that transition. And so long story short, we did. So I took over this very, very large practice with no business experience, no leadership experience, basically raw and unprepared. And to say that it was bumpy would be an understatement. In fact, it was going so poorly that a few years later, my wife said to me, said, look, we need help or our marriage isn't going to make it and our family's not going to survive it. And this business is not going to survive. I mean, that's how bad it got, right? And so that was a real eye-opening experience for me in a moment where, you've got to acknowledge that what you're doing is not working and it's time to reach out for help. Because I thought all I needed to do was work harder and demand more of the people that were working for me, that was the solution, but it wasn't. It's not leadership. And so we hired a coach and everything changed. And some of you know the story, and I'm not going to get all into that. But within a few short years, we wound up tripling that business, which was already incredibly successful. And after that, then we expanded. And at one point, I had 10 clinics. And then I got into real estate and coaching and fitness and, business after business after business. So my journey has been one. Also started a corporate culture company as well. I mean, talk about left field 180, right? So there's a lot of different things I got myself involved in, and it gives me a very broad perspective in business. But here's the thing: the elements of success, irregardless of what industry you are in, are absolutely the same. And here's a little tease: I'm going to share those with you on the next episode. But my journey has been one filled with so many incredible experiences and people, even the not so good experiences. I'm incredibly grateful for because I've learned so much out of my failures. It's made me such a better person, a better leader, someone better to understand marketplace, to inspire, and know what to act upon and not act upon. So I'm grateful for those experiences because it's taught me so much. And the fact is that if you can't handle failure now, forget about it when you've got, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on the line. You'll never sleep. It'll eat you alive, which gets me to one of my points. Not everybody is cut out to be an entrepreneur. It doesn't mean that entrepreneurs are better. It's not. It's none of that crap, right? It's just a mindset. And if you don't have the right mindset, I'm encourage you don't take the plunge unless you develop those skill sets. And then you've got to get with someone who can help teach you those skill sets and help assess if you're ready before you take that plunge. So in other words, investing in yourself early on could save you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of pain, anguish, and loss down the road. So entrepreneurship is not for everyone. So here's some really fascinating stats as I was preparing for this show that blew me away, and I think will probably do the same for you. Do you know 60% of college graduates right now want to be their own bosses? And that was a statistic that came out in 2022. And 17% of this year's graduating class, those students say in post-graduation, they intend to continue to run their businesses that they started in college. So 17% of college students right now are already running their businesses. How crazy is that? That's awesome. Couldn't imagine. Well, okay. So what I didn't tell you about my entrepreneurial journey, it really started when I was about 11 and living out on the East Coast, and we get a snowstorm. My stepdad goes, "You got a shovel?" Yeah. He goes, "Go out and shovel the yard." So I went out and shoveled the yard, and my next door neighbor, her husband was away, and she asked me if I would shovel her yard, which I did. And she gave me, I don't know, $15. Like, this is pretty cool. So I went to the next neighbor and I knocked on their door and I said, "Hey, do you need your driveway shoveled?" And she goes, "Yeah." So I shoveled her driveway. And then she paid me like 5 or 10. I don't remember, right? It wasn't the same amount. So, and then I knocked on the next door and they said, they were outside cleaning their driveway. And I went over and I said, "Do you want some help?" And she said, "Yeah." She goes, "What do you charge?" And like, wow, I can pick my own rate. So the one paid me 10, the other one paid me 15. I go, "I'll take 15, right?" Pretty smart guy, right? And she paid me. Well, that then started every winter. I would start shoveling snow, and everyone knew, and I had the accounts, and so I couldn't wait for it to snow. And then in the summer, I started cutting grass. So I had this entrepreneurial way of going out and hustle and making money. And I love doing it on my own. I didn't even know it at the time that I wasn't working for anyone else. I was working for myself. Didn't know the word entrepreneur. I don't even know if the word entrepreneur existed back, this would have been 75, 76, whatever it was. So I was already developing the entrepreneurial mindset at a very, very young age. So here's another interesting statistic about Gen Zers. Gen Zers who were born, were born between 1997 and 2012. So as of 2024, they range in age from 12 to 26, and they are commonly referred to as the first fully digital native generation. So their entire life is on the internet. So for them, the concept of creating a business is so easy and so natural to them. Another interesting statistic: how many entrepreneurs are college students? That was a question I had. And here's what I found out. Percentage-wise, 44% of entrepreneurs have a college degree. And while it can certainly be useful to have some higher education when starting your company, guys, here's the thing. It doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter. The benefit of having a college degree is that business fail, at least you have something to fall back on. But you can learn how to do whatever without ever going to college. Again, I'm not telling you not to go. I'm just telling you some of the most successful entrepreneurs of all time never went to college or never finished college. So this is a trend now that's beginning to happen. People are moving away from going to school, graduating from college, finding a Fortune 500 company, and then getting the golden handcuffs for the next 40 years and working for someone else. Which now brings me to my next question that I was thinking. Has entrepreneurship really increased that much over the last 10 years? Well, the answer is yes. And it's been on the rise over the last decade plus. And it's driven by quite a few different factors. Some of them being technology, advancements, access to information, of course, changing economic landscape, and the shifts in cultural attitudes towards entrepreneurship. I mean, you can't go on social media, particularly Instagram or whatever, and just, see all these entrepreneurs crushing it, and they're doing this, and they got their houses and their cars and their planes, which, by the way, a lot of that stuff is staged, right? They rent that stuff to make themselves look more successful than they are. So be careful of the seduction of entrepreneurship. Very few have that experience. It's way harder, right? And most of the time, it's nowhere near as glamorous as they make it look. So don't get fooled by the seduction of entrepreneurship. In other words, don't desire to be an entrepreneur because you see all these social media influencers living a life that's a complete illusion. So don't fall into the trap. So let's touch on some of these, right? Let's touch on some of these factors. So initially, I said technology. So we know that the proliferation of the internet, your phone, right, your computer, all these digital devices have significantly lowered the barriers to entry for starting a business. If you got a phone, you can start a business literally in 20 minutes. You can go to your state website, whatever.gov, right, and go put in and apply for your LLC. And if you got about $125, which is typical in most states, you can launch your LLC in about 20 minutes. So launching a startup really can occur with minimal capital. And then you can leverage tools and resources that are available online. So information, coaching, you can even raise money that way and use more of other people's money, what we call private equity, to help you start your business. That's a whole nother conversation for a different day that I'll probably do a show on. So another reason why it's been on a rise is the startup ecosystem. So many regions around the world have seen growth of vibrant startup ecosystems, including incubator cells and accelerators and co-working spaces and funding networks, kind of like I mentioned. These ecosystems provide support and they give you mentorship and funding opportunities for aspiring entrepreneurs. So if you've got a really tight business plan, you show up, you got great energy, you're enthusiastic and passionate about it, you can find somebody to help you achieve what you want and invest in your business, in your new startup. Another factor is globalization, right? We've got this interconnectedness of economies around the world that has opened up markets and created opportunities that were never previously available. You got e-commerce platforms, remote work arrangements, and digital marketing, which has facilitated this trend, right? So you can start a business, do some social media digital marketing, and literally be selling a product or a service within, I said 20 minutes to start up your LLC, probably an hour and a half, 2 hours, you can literally be online selling things, which, by the way, right, you've got to incorporate to some level and degree. Part of it is tax advantages. Another part of it is insulating yourself against liability. So be very careful of that. Another part that I'll probably do for a future show on entrepreneurship, why it's important to incorporate yourself. So another factor too is cultural shifts. As I mentioned, there definitely has been a cultural shift towards embracing entrepreneurship as a specific viable path. There's no doubt about that. I kind of gave some of the reasons why before, but right, the stories of successful startup founders and how they glamorize it, right? They glamorize the entrepreneurship, especially in popular media, and they encourage more people to pursue the entrepreneurial ambitions. But like I said, don't get caught in the seduction. It's not what you think it is. It's very rare. People have, immense, overwhelming success overnight. It's usually just the opposite. You're grinding for a long time before you can start living that lifestyle. Now, another one would be government support, right? Many governments have implemented policies and initiatives that foster entrepreneurship, including tax incentives and grants and regulatory reform to make it easier to start and to operate a business. So the environment is really positive in many areas. And a lot of times this is regional, right? There are certain parts of the country that are far more pro-entrepreneurial and some parts of the country that are, frankly, anti-entrepreneurial. And I'll let you figure out where those areas are. And then finally, another factor is the job market dynamics. Economic uncertainty, Scott. Just think back to the pandemic. All those people that lost their jobs, or were told to stay home, they realized that they don't have control over their financial future. They don't have control over their intellectual property. They don't have control over, the direction that they take over their life when they're working for the guy. And it changed the mindset for many, many people. And by the way, the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurship is minority females, which is fantastic. So as I mentioned, economic uncertainties and changes in the job market really have prompted a lot of people to explore entrepreneurship as a means of creating your own employment, your own opportunities, and taking control of your financial future. Now, I do want to make this note. If you start up a small business, in most cases, you are buying yourself a job. Yes, you're a business owner, and yes, you're learning, and yes, you got tax advantages and blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, if you don't show up, you don't make any money, okay? The point of where I'm at this point now in my life with my businesses, I don't work any of them, right? I have teams. I have incredible, talented people who are, amazing at what they do. My job is to lead, inspire, set goals and expectations with them, and then support them in their processes and give them what they need, the resources, the time, the energy, the skills, the talents, whatever it might be, so they can flourish. And then when you help people flourish underneath you, they become loyal. They become committed to the vision and passion of the business as much as you do, if not even more. And they literally become your partners and they become family. And that's what I call heart-centered leadership. I love these people. I love them, not because they help me make money, but they help me fulfill my mission to serve, to change lives. I couldn't be more grateful for each and every one of them. So that fact is that you're an entrepreneur, you start a business and you kind of sit back and everyone else does work. Yeah, not at the start. Not certainly at the start. It took me a long, long time to get to this point. Okay, so let's get into what are some of the reasons someone might want to become an entrepreneur? So I really sat down, I thought about this, and I think the first one is, and this is one of my highest core values, is freedom. Because as an entrepreneur, we desire the freedom to be our own boss, set our own schedule, to make our own decisions without having to answer to a higher authority. That's very, very enticing. Always was and always has been. And it's interesting, even when I was in college and I was working through completing, get my degree and my license, so on and so forth, I knew ultimately I was going to work for myself. And I just didn't know in what capacity. So innately, I kind of knew. Again, I want to get back to that, right? An entrepreneurship is not an innate skill set. You're not born an entrepreneur, right? It's a mindset that's developed, nurtured, and skill sets that are now nurtured and developed. So it doesn't matter if you're an assertive personality, a passive personality, amiable personality, expressive, analytical, it doesn't matter. There's successful entrepreneurs in all personality types. You just got to have the right mindset, the right tone, the right energy, and the right skill sets. So another reason someone may want to become an entrepreneur is to pursue a passion. It was for me, certainly at the start. In fact, every business I've started was rooted in some sort of passion because many of us are driven by a deep passion for our ideas, our products, our services. And we want to bring that vision to life, to the marketplace, and really make a difference in the world. To me, again, one of my core values is impact and legacy. And the only way you have impact if you can serve other people and help change their lives and help them get what they want out of their lives. All right. So another reason, of course, is financial potential. Look, you're not going to do all the work, take all the risk, invest all the money if there's not a potential financial gain. In fact, you'd be a fool to pursue something that doesn't return. And I won't even say a specific amount return on your investment. But here's what I need you to know about business. There's only two reasons to start a business, and that's to make money and to eventually sell that money or sell that business and sell it for a multiplier. Again, something we can talk about later. So financial potential, right? You got to have the potential for some significant rewards to deal with all the potential risk and downside because successful entrepreneurs can build wealth through their ventures, whether it's through our profits, the equity that we build in the business, or eventually, as I mentioned, right, when we sell the business or we scale the business and we replicate it multiple times over. You see that in the franchise market. Okay, another reason is what we call creative and innovation, because we as entrepreneurs, we like to express our creativity and innovation in a chosen field. And that's what my 19th business is, right? I look at a product or service. I look and see if there is a void in the marketplace that needs to be filled, where in the marketplace, and is there a desire for that market or for that product or service? And if you can answer yes to all of those, you got a chance to be very, very successful. So that's where the creativity and the innovation comes from, because that provides us a platform to develop new solutions, new products, and then to be able to address existing problems or needs that individuals have. Now you got the formula for success. Okay, the next reason, I'm big on this, guys, right, is personal growth. By the way, right, podcast is a business that I do here. My coaching is a business. Our supplement company, Triple P Life Nutrition, is another business. And all of this is built upon this specific reason, is personal growth. I started running my businesses and I was, as I mentioned, not prepared. I had no idea what the hell I was doing because it was all about me and not about serving the people. It was not about serving my team. I thought everything that was going wrong was everyone else's fault. And the problem was staring me right in the mirror. It was me. And I had to make a decision to change who I was, or I was not going to succeed in life or business. I was going to lose my family and my business. So I embraced this thing called personal growth. I knew I needed to change me before anything outside of me changed, because outside of me would reflect the change within me. So if you're going to run a business, you need to be committed to profound personal growth and experiences. I say growing people grow businesses. If your business is stagnant, the first thing you need to look at is, are you, the entrepreneur, stagnant? What have you done recently to expand your mindset, to grow, to learn, to expand your network? See, the thing is, entrepreneurs often face challenges that are going to push us out of our comfort zones. In fact, just even making the decision to become an entrepreneur is going to make you very uncomfortable. So you got to develop skill sets. You got to learn how to become resilient. You got to learn how to problem solve. You got to learn how to lead. You got to learn how to be compassionate. You got to learn how to manage money. You got to learn how to create budgets. You got to learn how to lead unemotionally. And what I mean by that is to have a strong emotional IQ. So when you're in the midst of a shitstorm, you're the calmest person in the room, and everyone looks to you and knows that you're at the helm and everything's going to be okay. Okay, another reason is autonomy. As entrepreneurs, we want to have the autonomy to shape and to live our own destiny, so we can pursue projects and initiatives that's going to align with our own core values rather than conforming to someone else's agenda, which is essentially what we do when we work for other people. And then the next one, as I mentioned before, and this is a big one for me, is impact. It motivates me. It motivates me and creates desire for me to want to make impact on society and on the communities that my businesses exist. Because I see entrepreneurship as a means to not only create jobs and great lives for the people who work with me, to stimulate economic growth, to pay taxes. Wait, what? You like to pay taxes? You're the first entrepreneur who likes to pay taxes. Yeah, you know why? Because if I'm paying taxes means I'm making money. And if I'm making money, then I'm giving back to society and helping build my community, infrastructure, so on and so forth, and people maybe who are less fortunate than I am. I don't like wasteful spending, right? I don't like my taxes going to things that literally work against my ability to be successful. But I think paying taxes is a good thing. Okay, number 8 is flexibility. Being an entrepreneur offers us ability to be flexible in terms of where we work, the hours we work, how we want to balance our life. I talked about that in our success snack recently. So while starting a business often requires a significant time investment initially, right? Eventually, we're going to have the flexibility to structure our work around possible, our life goals. I've often said most entrepreneurs, their lives support their business. And eventually, if you stay at it and you learn, your business should support your life. Before I retired from practice, my wife and I were vacationing between 4 and 6 weeks a year. We take at least a week every quarter. And now we vacation 1 to 2 weeks a month. Now, again, it's taken us a while to get to this point, right? But now my businesses support my life and my lifestyle. And that's what I aim or hope to help other people do the same. That's what my goal and focus is with the coaching that I do. So whether you're in healthcare, financial services, the fitness industry, plumbers, landscapers, whatever the clients we work with, is to help them to create the same model so they can have flexibility in their lives and have balance in their lives and enjoy the fruits of their labor, and yet at the same time be building financial wealth that will sustain way beyond their lives. Okay, the next one is being legacy. For some, I'm included, right? I am driven by the desire to leave a lasting legacy. I want to aim to build something so amazing that's going to outlast me, that will positively influence humanity long after I'm gone. And then number 10, right? Because you got to be a little nutty, is the challenge and the excitement. Man, I get jacked up about the challenge of starting a new business, right? There's a level of excitement in risk taking for me, right? There's the thrill of overcoming the obstacles of starting something, growing it, and watching it succeed wildly. That is so cool. It's not for everyone, I guarantee you. So what I covered on this first part here today was gave you a little insight to my own entrepreneurial journey. I talked about some of the amazing stats out there and how this is a trend. And if you're a parent and you've got kids, right, in the junior high and high school, there's a good chance over 50% of them, right, 1 out of 2 is thinking or will be leaning towards entrepreneurial. And what I'm suggesting to you, right, sure, college be an option, but don't dissuade if they've got the entrepreneurial mindset. I told my daughter my youngest daughter, when she was looking at colleges, and one of the colleges she was looking at was, not cheap. It was about $60,000 a year. I said, why don't we take that $250,000 and let's invest it and open a business together? And believe me, she told me, afterwards, she said she thought long and hard about that. Eventually she went to school, she got her degree, so on and so forth. And we're in business now anyway. So, but embrace it, encourage it. If you've got a child who's got the entrepreneurial mindset. And then if you're not an entrepreneur, that's fine. That's cool. No worries. Maybe someone in your family or in your network can talk with them, right? Maybe somewhere in their community, right? Maybe a podcast, maybe listen to this. right? Somebody who could mentor them and give them some guidance on it. Eventually what they'll find out either it's the right path for them or not. And that's cool. That's the way it's supposed to be. So next week will be part 2 of the entrepreneurial journey. And I said to you, I'm going to ask you and help you determine, do you have what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur? And then we're going to talk about what makes a good entrepreneur. And then, and some of the qualities that maybe aren't so good for being an entrepreneur. And then what makes our ventures fail. And there are a variety of reasons for it. So, and then I'll finish up with my big entrepreneurial wins and losses. So this has been a lot of fun for me today. Something really passionate about. I'm sure you can tell in my voice and my energy doing this. So as always, man, I'm really grateful that you guys choose to join me on this. If you have questions, if you're an entrepreneur and you're on your journey, just reach out. Dr. J at Triple P Life. Dr. J at Triple P Life. That's my email. I will respond. I respond to all of them. Or again, follow me on social media. Go to the YouTube channel. Comment on this. Go to our YouTube channel. Comment on this. Hit your like, right? And I wouldn't be a very good promoter if I didn't say, hit your like and subscribe and follow button, guys. And of course, we would love your reviews. If you think this content is of value, please leave us a review. That would mean the world to me. Like, I put my heart in this, and I try to give you the very best content from my own experience, and then research it as well too. So all I'm asking is a little bit back is to give your thoughts and feedback. And if you give us a 5-star review, that would be absolutely awesome. So once again, part 2 next week, and I think you're going to like it. So as we close today, I just want to say, you be you, but just be the best you. Be the best entrepreneurial you. And I promise you will always empower your dreams, ignite your passion, and accelerate your prosperity. Until next week, guys, for part 2, be well.